Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out smackdowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by TagMeADate. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space, now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
He must be acknowledged.
Once again.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the War Report podcast brought to you by TagMeADate.com. We got Eric, Vince, and Al on. Who knows who else is going to drop by?
Right.
But holy shit, we had a banger of a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
We had a banger of a SmackDown before the pay-per-view. We have a lot to talk about, and quite frankly, it's all thanks to Montreal. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the War Report. Vinnie Mac, go for it, brother.
All right. Well, welcome, everybody, to another edition of the War Report Pro Wrestling Podcast. We're doing all things pro wrestling. Obviously, as we lead up to the road to WrestleMania, that might take up a portion or a large chunk of our show, but, there's always room for other discussion as well. With AEW's Revolution coming up in March, like early March, so lots of stuff to talk about tonight. I suppose the best place to be Friday, starting with Sammy's entrance on Friday and kind of moving forward, or how do you want to handle what's happened over the last few days?
You know what's amazing, and we've said it time and time again. The greatest moments, some of the greatest moments in pro wrestling, is when nobody has to say a word. Nobody has to even touch.
Exactly.
And the crowd is just out of control. You got Sammy coming out on SmackDown and for a solid 5 minutes, which in TV world is a lifetime.
Huge.
Sami Zayn didn't say a fucking word and didn't have to. The crowd told the whole story.
Exactly.
They went from chant into chant into chant into chant and brought tears to his eyes. You got the goosebumps. I mean, that's pro wrestling. And there was no wrestling, but it gave you the feels.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
And the music, the original Sami Zayn music came back, which is a huge improvement.
Had to happen. Right? And then that leads into the chamber, and we're going to get into everything, but then it leads into the chamber, and the two of them come out. You have an overwhelming fuck you Roman chant from the crowd. Mm-hmm. And then you have Sammy doing his thing. And then again, for the first 4 or 5 minutes, they don't touch. They just play to the crowd. It's the story. It's the delivery. They just have done everything fucking right. And
then the last fucking 2 minutes of the pay-per-view happened.
Well, and we'll get into everything. But overall, a great show. We'll go from top of the card to the bottom. But Eric, what was the overall feel of the last show before WrestleMania?
I thought it was a great show. I thought the women's match was went a little quickly for me, but then I figured, honestly, my only problem with the entire show was the bullshit ending for the Brock Lashley match. Other than that, and the match was good up until that point too. But match of the night for me was the men's U.S. Chamber match. Holy shit! The guys that were in that match did everything, and everybody did shit. Not just Montez Ford, everybody.
Yeah. I don't know that I would say that was uh, the overall best match of the night. But we'll get into that. Al, overall, what did you think, man?
I thought
All
it was
right,
a good
Al,
pay-per-view.
if you can hear us,
The women's match,
you're
I
definitely
thought,
choppy. Call back in as soon as you get home, and we'll bring you right in.
He's on a delay, I think is what it is.
All right.
I think what it is if he's in the car or something, it's probably that the cell service, he's getting our messages like a few seconds afterwards. So he's getting them, he's just getting them late. So then he's responding to something you've already said. Yeah. Anyway.
It's all good. He'll be home in a few minutes and he'll jump back on.
But
I mean, should we just take it from the top? We start. Go ahead.
I was going to say all the matches pretty much were home runs. I would say
every match was a main event,
and I'm not talking about like finishers aside, but that's a different story. But the matches themselves were all great.
Yeah, so, and, especially when you have a shorter pay-per-view, like there were only 5 matches, so you have to. When you only have 5 matches, they better be the 5 that are worth spending your Saturday evening on, investing your time.
But I was thoroughly entertained by all of it.
So the show opens with the women's chamber. Obviously, the outcome, I think we all agreed it was going to be Asuka. So
right out there, yeah.
I thought that was the right move. I enjoyed the match. I liked everything from Carmella trying to lock herself back in a pod and then always running in to try and get that quick pin and, just being Carmella. That's just kind of what she does. I thought Liv Morgan looked great.
Can we just praise Liv Morgan's shorts for a second?
Oh my God.
Those shorts were crazy. She almost had like the Chucky feel with the good guy doll kind of look. But I mean, just everything about it I thought worked. It was well done. There were some great spots in the match, and the finish was what we expected it to be. So I'm excited to see Asuka Bianca at Mania. I think that's the move. I mean, that's really there was no other choice.
No, I don't think there was.
Yeah, but some great spots. I thought Nikki Cross was entertaining as hell. I love now that she's a psychopath again. It was just the right move. Hopefully they bring sanity back because they've been teasing that.
Definitely. Even Natalia had her moment, the sharpshooter. That in fact, that double submission hold with her with the sharpshooter and Asuka with that crossface at the same time. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm surprised that one of the eliminations wasn't via sharpshooter, only because
Natalia did throw on the sharpshooter.
She did, but nobody tapped to. Like what I'm saying is like because we almost expected a screw job sharpshooter moment in the main event, and there wasn't one. And Natalia was like the only Hart family representative out there. It would have been cool if one of the eliminations came from a sharpshooter, just to kind of like you're already sending people home disappointed with the main event. Give them something to cheer about. The hometown girl gets a tap out with a sharpshooter. No worries being late. You didn't. I mean, you missed the first 9 minutes of the show. We're just talking about Elimination Chamber and Sami Zayn and all that. So you didn't. We're just getting into the opening match with the women's Elimination Chamber, so you didn't miss much.
So I did. I thought it was a great way to start the show, right? You always got to start strong, finish strong. So I thought that was well done.
Eric's right though. It was a little short, and I understand. I know why it's short. Listen, everything that happens when if I have a criticism about it, 9 times out of 10, you can go, yeah, but, and it makes sense. So, I figured it was you, Tara. How's it going?
Hey, Tara.
It makes sense. Yes, it's the first match. They have to keep it short to make sure that there's enough time.
Well, they had to make sure there was extra time for the main event because they knew that was going to go.
It was a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts.
Well, listen, that storyline has had a lot of layers, so it's going to go deep, and it's so fucking good.
The match, though,
Eric, what do you want to say?
It served its purpose. It was I may have thought it was a little abrupt, but other than that, it was still a good, very good match. Asuka, I think, was the right move for the winner,
Yeah.
and it served its purpose, and everyone got their shining moment.
It reset this whole last few months, starting, I guess, with the clown makeup coming back at the Royal Rumble. We're
So
reestablishing Asuka. So like Asuka's been reestablished now. The Chamber helps for sure because she looked dominant.
Well, she's getting her face smashed into the chamber, and then she's smiling, and she's got the tongue sticking out, and it's like she's just like crazier than ever now, but still playing to the crowd. It's great. It's
how do you not have that go over at WrestleMania too? As much as people love Bianca,
there is no doubt in my mind that Asuka's walking out as champion at Mania. And listen, it's okay. Bianca's had it almost a year now. So I'm good with that choice. Asuka deserves another title run, especially as this new version of, which is just, I mean, everything works. Even when she's like cutting she's in an interview and then all of a sudden smiles and the blue shit starts coming out of her. Like, it's great. Like, she's nuts. And then you see her and Nikki Cross together. It's awesome.
Yeah, and Asuka, she kind of got the short end of the stick a couple years ago, WrestleMania in New Orleans. Her undefeated streak had to go away to service Charlotte winning the title, but then didn't Charlotte get like cashed in on right after that or something? I don't know. There was a whole thing there where Asuka just like her big undefeated streak got fed to Charlotte and her chase for 16 titles. Yeah. So it was just like a little bit of, it was a good match. It was just underwhelming that she tapped out to the figure 8, and it was just like, oh, okay, that's it. And then like right after that, I think John Cena ran in because he heard the Undertaker was there, and like Asuka's like clapping after, like, oh yeah, go get him or something. I don't know.
Like Asuka now has achieved something though that no other woman has, in that she's been won an Elimination Chamber, a Money in the Bank ladder match, and a Royal Rumble.
And all she needs is a WrestleMania World Title win to cap that off, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's a done deal.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. So that'll be on top, one more accolade on top of an already Hall of Fame career.
So, moving on. Match 2 of the night was Brock versus Bobby Lashley.
Did I tell you they were going to do a fucking screwy finish or what?
I got to tell you, when I watched, right, and like Eric said, it was a great match. And then, it was hard hitting. It was false finish after false finish, taking finishing moves and kicking out, whatever. It was great. Then you get to the Hurt Lock, and he tries to break it 3 times, can't break it, so he decides to go for the low blow in front of the ref. And then the ref DQs the match, giving Bobby Lashley the win. The best part was afterwards, when Brock looks at the ref and goes like this. He comes over and then he gives him the F5 because, he's pissed off. But listen, when it first went down, I was pissed. And I was like, come on, really? Like, you just ruined a great match, this and that. The more and more I think about it, I don't necessarily think it was terrible. There's no reason that it had to conclude yet. Not to say that feud's going to continue right now, but they're leaving it open to continue.
Right.
Not every match has to have a finish. When was the last time a main event type of match like that ended in a DQ? Like Brock Lesnar, when was the last time he got DQ'd?
He tried that same. He actually, I think, as a little bit of continuity, a couple of years ago, Brock Lesnar got away with this, facing the Undertaker. He got a low blow in front of the referee and was able to beat the Undertaker in like a Hell in a Cell or something. There was that run of matches where Undertaker and Brock were going against each other in like a spring and a summer, and it was like there was a false tap out by Brock, and then they restarted a match, and there was there was a whole bunch of stuff, but I kind of like that there was a finish like that. Only my caveat, my asterisk being, does this conclude at WrestleMania? If it concludes at WrestleMania, because now it seems like they're breaking those guys up. Bobby Lashley's going to go after Bray Wyatt for some fuck reason, and then Brock
And
Lesnar's
Brock's
going
going
to
to face Omos.
almost
Oh.
and fucking shoot me. I hope the almost thing is a swerve and that
Well-
Gunther comes out and attacks Omos, because I don't give a shit about that guy.
I don't either, but I think it'll look cool when Brock Lesnar gets Omos in the F5.
Sure, but
You
Right,
know,
but not at
is that
WrestleMania.
should that be a Mania thing? I'm not saying it should, but I'm trying to see the light in it. I mean,
yeah.
I like the original idea we were hearing of Gunther and Brock Lesnar. Now that would be a fucking banger, and that's
Brock would be great.
you know,
Bobby
but
Brock for real. You know,
yeah. I now go back and I say I didn't hate it. And I thought it was a great match. So we'll see. But yeah, I the whole Bray Wyatt thing now makes no fucking sense. Like, I don't understand why all of a sudden it was either of them.
yeah. All of a sudden on Twitter, Bray Wyatt's like, or whatever it was, somewhere one of the promos was.
Well, no,
whoever,
he came out on SmackDown. And,
that's right.
And he cleared him and Howdy cleared the ring of Hit Row. And then Bray said, Brock, Bobby, whoever wins, you better run. And it was just like, okay, why? Like,
but then he won by DQ, so does that even count? You know what I mean? Is that like?
Well, right, but because now Omos made this challenge, if that's really going to happen, then obviously it's got to be Bobby Lashley.
I'm not in love with the WrestleMania card. I'm going to be honest. Aside from the women's singles matches, I'm not in love with the rest of the card.
We don't know the whole card yet, so
The
and nothing's been
presumed card.
finalized.
I know.
Well, listen, there will be some matches we want to see for sure.
Technically, do we really know the main event? Or well, I guess after Raw we do, but
yeah, they're listen. We got to talk about the rest of the pay-per-view before I talk about. How
Don't jump the gun there, Eric.
Thrown Sami Zayn by the wayside for the shiny new toy. But anyway,
what are you from, Montreal?
Yeah, I know, right? I love it. Oh, only people from Montreal care about Sami Zayn. Oh, everybody wants Cody. If you want Sami Zayn, you're in the minority. It's like, no. Have you noticed the ratings on SmackDown and Raw lately? That ain't from Cody Rhodes. And honestly, it ain't from Roman Reigns. It's from Sami Zayn. He's been holding this fucking show together for a year.
Oh, it is 1,000% Sami Zayn. There's no doubt about it. We'll get
Edge
there.
and Beth Phoenix against the Judgment Day.
Another great match.
Oh, yeah, I like this one, too.
It was a great match. It was a great match, and it was a
about
great finish, and there were some cool spots. Like the part where Beth and Rhea powerbombed the other's significant other. Like there were just some fun moments. Like it was well put together. It ended the way that we thought it would, where Rhea did not take the pin because she's got to look strong, and she did look strong in that match. And she didn't take the pin. Finn Balor did. So, I think it was well done. I enjoyed it, and I liked what Dom did. I mean, listen, say what you want about Dominic, he's getting more heat than most.
No,
the minute he stepped on the apron and started whispering in Rhea's ear, you got "fuck you, Dominic" chants. So,
because they had to pivot away from what he was doing. And again, this will tie into our conversation about picking Cody over Sammy. How many times can your gimmick be, my dad is a great wrestler and therefore I should be the next big thing? Dominic was going nowhere being Dominic Mysterio, wearing his little my dad's cosplay in 2XL. And and he didn't even, the other frustrating thing is, again, we've talked about, I've beat this into the ground. He comes out there, he's tagging with his dad, and they don't put a fucking mask on him. Why even bother? Call him Dominic Martinez if you want. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have to be Dominic Mysterio if he's not wearing a fucking mask. But they've split away. He's
Dom.
Right. He's not relying on
ex-con.
Right, ex-con
Dom.
God, jeez. But no,
10 minutes he was in prison.
They're pivoting, for the time he was there until they posted bail.
He's
but they pivoted
Dom.
from that. The prison time, that's a whole other thing, buddy.
But it's so funny, like the way he talks about it, and he's like so matter of fact, like he was in there for a while, like running shit. Like, dude, it's hilarious. He's delivering it well.
That's why they had to give him something that he could be more loose with, and more like you can't. Where do you go with my dad is Rey Mysterio, and also I am here in a tag team with him? you don't go anywhere. You know, like him establish his own character and kind of being able to do this. It's so early on in his career. This shit doesn't count really. He's gonna be this goofy, and he can just explore this goofy character for as long as he wants because he's such a young guy. You know.
Yeah, he's got time.
It helps.
You know what?
It's gonna help him in the long run.
I think that after post WrestleMania, I really see Judgment Day kind of breaking off and into their own things and not being a thing anymore.
It never made sense without Edge anyway.
Yeah,
I gotta tell you, that remains to be seen. To be honest, because
the name, the Judgment Day, you know what I mean? Like the whole,
yeah,
like, I don't care
none of it makes sense.
Right, them as a group was fine. I think all of them as a
well,
group
we can't
now
change the name at this point.
No,
I
exactly.
but
guess
I think
you could.
the
Well,
ultimate
it is
story,
WWE. You could.
The ultimate story that came from that was the whole Dominic thing.
Right. And apparently this never-ending Finn Balor Edge feud.
And Rhea's dominance.
Yeah, Rhea got to come out and that's the other thing is that after WrestleMania,
Rhea has become the star.
Right, she's the leader of the group. She's the star.
Yeah.
But
notice she's the one that's like walks in the middle. You know, like
you just see like Damian Priest really did his thing in the chamber, and he cut so he can. I don't know. I really feel like these guys can really kind of splinter off.
And I think after Rhea wins the title, they probably will.
No, it could be.
I'm not saying that they can't.
Yeah.
I just they're not showing any signs of that even happening. Like there hasn't been like, what the fuck? I know you hit me by accident, but what the fuck kind of moment? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there hasn't been.
So they're not even teasing that right now. So I think we're so close to Mania. I said maybe early in the new year of pro wrestling, maybe, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. I don't think, unless something happens at Mania that costs them the, like something's got to happen. There hasn't even been a,
right.
Well, I'm thinking like if they end up doing Ray versus Dominic, and obviously Rhea's probably winning the title, on her own, and then whatever Balor ends up doing it, if at all, or Priest, like I don't know, I just don't. Once Dominic, whether he wins or loses, whatever, I don't think just Judgment Day needs to be a thing anymore.
And
I wouldn't be upset if it went away, quite honestly. So I mean, no, I'm good either way at this point. There has to be some signs of it to happen before I am like, okay, yeah, I agree. I think it's over. You know what I mean? They just, I don't know. Even Damian Priest looked strong in the chamber.
He did amazing. They all did amazing things in that thing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, so we covered the women's. Then we had Brock and Lashley, right? Now that leads us to we did
the mixed tag.
So now we're up to the men's chamber.
Yeah.
So, like Eric said, the men's chamber was phenomenal. Everybody involved did a great job. Damian Priest looked like a star. Montez Ford, I was probably more impressed with than anyone else in that match. The shit that he does and can do and did it on his own, without, his partner. Just awesome.
Bronson Reed was another standout.
Bronson Reed is a monster. He should have never been let go in the first place, and I'm glad that they brought him back. They're going to do big things with him. He is enormous. I think the next thing we're actually going to see is him versus Otis. And that should be a fun match because they're big guys. But Bronson's an animal. And he didn't look weak getting eliminated. Like it took them all, hitting him to get it done. So I thought that was cool.
He did that double Samoan drop on two people at the same time. That was cool.
Yep, that was cool. Seth Rollins, I mean, is always great.
That thing that Montez Ford did where he climbed to the top of the chamber, did like this Spider-Man crawl thing, and then leapt down.
And then just let go.
Like a plancha. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, that was cool. He did a bunch of flips in and out of the ring.
Yeah, and then Damian Priest doing like a bunch of flips, to the other side of the chamber, outside of the ring. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They all did great. They all hit spots. They all
I
looked
love
strong.
I love that part where it
And
took 3 super kicks to get Bronson Reed off his feet.
well, right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then a splash off the top too. Um,
I think,
but
like, dude, everybody did well. I think Montez established the other guy, Angelo. Is that his name?
yeah, Angelo Dawkins,
Angelo Dawkins,
who I think is phenomenal. Quite
is
honestly, he's
phenomenal.
no joke.
He's gotten himself into great shape, and there's no saying that a team has to split up if they both go after singles stuff. But Montez established this was like, man, I'm trying to think of who else really established himself in Elimination Chamber as a singles guy, like a good allegory. I can't think of one right now, but like,
But it really did. It showcased that he could be a single star.
Right, and that's why he was my pick only as like Elimination Chamber. It's Austin. I know they had this thing for Austin Theory going against John Cena, but part of me is like, hey, you know what? It's the Elimination Chamber. There's 5 or 6 guys in there. You know what I mean? Anything can happen. So I wanted Montez to win, if only to kickstart some sort of singles push for him. But I think winning the title didn't, with his performance that night, winning the title didn't necessarily matter.
Right.
So
it did what it did.
That match did what it needed to do for him.
Yeah.
I still, God bless Austin Theory and his tiny little body and his big horse teeth, but I just don't get it. I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure people like him. He's apparently a very good wrestler, in good shape, all that stuff. A young guy that they see potential in. Just not my cup of coffee, man. Just not.
I hear
not
you.
For me.
I hear you. The guy's talented as hell, and he looks great in terms of physique. He can wrestle. He can cut a promo. I mean, he's good. But I'm with you. There's just, I can't get behind him. He's not my cup of coffee either. I really was hoping that he was not going to be the victor, although I kind of knew it was. But then I was like, well, he doesn't need to face John Cena and have a title on the line. But I guess they're going to go that route anyway.
Well, yeah, because they're tying it into the Open U.S. title challenge.
I mean, for all we know, he's just in that Rocky Maivia ringmaster phase. You know?
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Rock,
so we'll see.
Rock really hit a stride in the Nation, and then he overthrew Farouk, and then there was the whole, he really got to showcase his stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But and then I loved the sell that Montez Ford did after the curb stomp to the outside. His selling was phenomenal, which allowed the door to be open long enough for Logan Paul to arrive and buckshot Seth Rollins and then give him a curb stomp to set up their match at Mania. I mean, listen, say what you want, but he hit his spots and he hit them like a pro. And he's not a pro yet, and he's acting like it. And he's getting some major heat, and he worked the crowd well. I thought it was a great spot, which is what led to Austin Theory retaining the title. So as a finish, I thought it was great. I kind of knew Logan Paul, like that was going to do something soon. I didn't necessarily think it was going to happen at the Chamber. So that was a nice surprise. And then I loved Logan's explanation as he was walking up the ramp and out, and he looked at the camera and he said, keep talking shit. This is what's going to happen to you, basically, because he's been talking shit on Twitter or whatever. But, it's a great way to tie it together, and it worked, and I thought it was a great finish to that match.
The only bugaboo I have with it, and I know it's a typical WWE thing that they do all the time, and it doesn't really matter, but it's just weird. If you're Logan Paul, don't you want Seth Rollins to win that match so you challenge him for the U.S. title at WrestleMania instead of in a non-title match? And I know that's only because when you're writing the show, Logan Paul does not factor in as your U.S. champion 2 months down the line, 6 months down the line. It has to be with an active wrestler. Tara's saying, oh, can Logan Paul just go away? And listen, that is a response of a lot of people, and not just people who are 30 plus, who don't really know him that much or find him annoying. There's also, there's controversy around Logan and Jake Paul. They're not exactly, there's a subset of people that really, really like him and support him. And there's a subset of people that really feel the opposite way. So,
it sounds to me that the people that are not behind him are in the minority at this point. I mean, his following is enormous on social media and I guess TikTok, right? I think he's a TikTok guy.
Yeah, it was
So,
YouTube
I
and
mean,
now it's TikTok, I think.
You know what it is for me? He's just there. Like, he does his thing, and that's great and everything. But I wouldn't exactly be upset if he wasn't there either. So,
but you have to be impressed for somebody that's not a wrestler
oh, he picked it
Yeah,
up right
and
away.
didn't go through. You know what I mean? Like the guy's athletic and he's pulling it off. You know, it's the same similar surprise I got with Bad Bunny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think there's a potential for this guy because even if, all right, so I think the idea at first was Logan Paul was going to come in because he had this reputation of being kind of a controversial figure and be booed, and they were prepared for that, kind of prepared for the inevitability of Logan Paul being booed, and then he went out there and like, you put all that stuff aside on a wrestling fan, reputation and whatever else. When you go into a wrestling arena and you put on a good wrestling performance in front of a crowd like that, they're willing to put aside internet shenanigans for the sake of, okay, this guy went out there and proved that at least in this medium he's taking it seriously. Maybe he's not taking, maybe he jokes around on YouTube and jokes around on TikTok, but he's actually like put the work in here for wrestling. So WWE fans came to respect him almost in a weird way. Like he turned their perceptions around because this was a guy I think was supposed to get booed and come in as a heel and maybe just be a one-time thing.
Well, because for true wrestling fans, he's got that face that you want to punch. You know what I mean? Especially because he's not from this world. Like, all right, great, you got famous by doing some TikTok fucking videos, and now you get an opportunity that people die for. But he's making me a believer. I got to be honest. I mean, he's showing me that he is putting in the work because you don't pick it up unless you're putting in the work. So I give it to him. I mean, he's even working the cameras right. It's like things like that. The facial expressions. It's working, and I think now he's going to be a douchebag. So that's a good thing because he's going to get heat. And
we're in for a treat as far as the match between him and Rollins.
It's going to be a great match, but Rollins better go over. Do you think Logan Paul goes over? Seth Rollins can't lose.
Rollins has such a bad WrestleMania record.
I know.
Lose.
You know what? It's weird. You know what's weird? Rollins came out at the Chamber and he wasn't wearing anything that was like odd. Like he wasn't wearing this ridiculous shit that he's been doing. Like he was wearing normal shit. I'm like, I was like, you know what? I'm confused.
That's because it was serious business, Eric.
Yeah,
this is the Chamber. But he did come out with a funky coat. I think
it's the Catalina wine mixer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah.
Not this. So before we skip away from the Chamber, they also showed afterward they're releasing their WrestleMania Goes Hollywood promos, much like the old WrestleMania Goes Hollywood.
Yeah,
promos,
which I'm so excited
Rollins
about
as the Joker was great.
Becky as Batman was a little weird.
But she wasn't Batman. No, but she wasn't Batman.
She was the man.
She was the man, and she was going to the man cave.
Right.
But she did the Batman voice, and she was a close talker. But it was so funny. Like Seth Rollins, like, when I didn't realize you were such a close talker.
I didn't. When we get a man cave.
But but the opening with him dancing down the steps like the Joker was.
Oh, it was great.
You couldn't have found a better person for that spot than Seth Rollins.
Oh, 100%. The only other person that could have done that spot would have been Sting.
Yep.
When he was doing that whole thing in TNA, yeah. But no, he did a great job. So I'm very happy that they're doing these again because they were great back in the day too. So, it's pretty cool. Tara says the one with him and Becky are great. Yeah, they really that one was just awesome. So, all right, moving on.
With the Miz too? Yeah. Wasn't there some kind of little thing with the Miz and Maurice? Maybe
they showed little snippets. Like there's one with Montez and Bianca, that is like a Titanic one, but I don't think that full one's been released yet. So I think they're slowly going to trickle them out.
Yeah, I think
just
each
love-
week on each show they're going to start trickling them out.
Yeah, I just love that they're doing that again because that was one of the better parts of that lead up to that WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, it was great. Like Triple H was the fuck was that movie with Mel
Braveheart.
Gibson?
Braveheart.
Yeah.
I'm
they had
thinking
a
now
title.
they would use Drew for it, but you know,
Yeah, that's
like
Yeah, they could do it. They could do
Eugene
Braveheart.
as Forrest Gump.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Eugene, yeah.
Then,
That's right. I forgot
fucking
about that.
Kurt Angle and Christy Hemme with the when Harry met Sally,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
Linda McMahon did the "I'll have what she's having" thing.
Oh, that's funny.
In retrospect, her saying that is all kinds of weird.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, considering. Yeah,
All right. So after that came our main event.
Oh, don't get me started, Steve.
And I'm getting you started. So first thing I noticed, they did everything to really make me think like, holy shit, Sammy may actually do it. Because they did the Champion's Curse. And Roman came out first. And Roman comes out and he's doing his thing. And that crowd, I haven't heard Roman get booed like this in so long. And then they started chanting, fuck you, Roman, clear as day. And it wasn't bleeped out.
to a cancer survivor, by the way.
Whatever.
Like father of two or something like that. You know what I mean? Just like, yeah.
But fuck you, Roman chants. He does his whole entrance. The crowd was relentless.
Yeah.
And Roman just took it all in. And Heyman, it did seem a little weird not having the bloodline there. You just had Heyman. We'll get to Heyman. And then Sammy's music hits. And it was like Rock Hogan for me.
I was going to say, because Canada, yeah, it's exactly the same, man.
Right? I mean, that crowd was sensational. Sammy's wife in the front row, which you never see her, and she was into it. The crowd, like, again, the bell rings. They don't touch for at least 4 or 5 minutes. And it was outstanding. It just shows you a match like that doesn't even need wrestling. You know, you do need wrestling, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was just the crowd did it. And Sammy taking it in and Roman playing to the crowd. At one point, Roman puts the finger up and then goes to shush him. Like, they just did everything right. And then the match. And the match was great. The match was fantastic. And there were moments where I got closer and closer to the edge of my seat and said, oh my God, Sammy's going to do it. When he hit him with the Superman punch and then ran back and then hit the kick, I said, oh my God, he's going to do it. Like, there were so many of those false finish moments that got you moving.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the first ref goes down.
Yep.
And we have an Uso. And Jimmy shows up. And super kicks Sammy, I don't know, 3-4 times.
A lot.
And then splashes him. Pulls Roman over. And you go, oh my God, it's over. This is the Montreal screw job, so to speak. Throws him over. And Sammy kicks out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Great kick out.
And Michael Cole was so fucking good during this match because the emotions that came out and you could see, like, I could visualize Cole going like this in his chair, like jumping up, like, you know, and then another false finish and another false finish and another false finish. And then a second referee goes down.
Well, they teased the first.
He got the pin, but there was no referee.
Yeah.
Just all the emotions, everything about it was just coming together. The storytelling was just so fucking good, and the layers are peeling. And then you have the second ref goes down, and now Roman tells Heyman says, we got 2 down refs. Go get the chair. You see Heyman waddle
Yeah.
waddle over to the apron, and he pulls out a chair and he smacks it so you know it's a real chair. I don't know what the purpose of that was. He slides it into Roman, and Roman's going to start unleashing on Sammy, and Jay shows up. And now you're like, oh my God, now what's going to happen?
Right.
And Jay is now Sammy from the Royal Rumble. The same exact position. He's standing there. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't know what to do. Roman gives him the chair. It looks almost like Jay's going to hit Roman and then won't pull the trigger. And Roman keeps pushing him and, you know. And then Sammy, with Roman moving out the way, hits Jay. So now what's going to happen? Now Jay's out. And then he turns around into a spear. The match ends, but it doesn't. Because now Jimmy comes back, gets back to his feet. Now they start hitting him after the match. And now the roof flies off the place because Kevin Owens shows up. So they sent everyone home happy, even though he didn't win. And it was, to me, it was the perfect finish. I know Roman can never win clean, but in this case, there were moments I thought, oh my God, Sammy's going to do it. Now the question is, what's going to happen with Sammy? And he's going to have a big role in Mania. I'm telling you, I just don't know what the plan is.
Yeah, but dude, they're sticking everything we heard 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago. Oh, it's going to be Cody, Roman, and Sammy and KO are going to go against the Usos for the tag team titles. It seems like they locked that plan in sometime last year, and they don't want to deviate from it. Because now,
is that a bad thing?
I mean, for Sammy to get the consolation prize tag team titles at WrestleMania, kind of. I mean,
see, that's the thing, though. If they go this route, where they go the tag titles, I ultimately think he is going to become world champion in the very near future.
Who, Sammy?
Sammy.
Nah, no. Did you hear
Cody
Triple H was
wins,
talking about him?
If Cody wins, then it's going to be Cody Sammy, and I could see Sammy taking out Cody. If you think about it, Sammy beat Roman. There was a moment where he got the pin and there was no referee. So
yeah, but then there was no mention of that on Monday. You know what I mean? On Monday,
they wouldn't mention that until after Mania.
But but I'm saying Sammy, right? But I'm saying Sammy could go, "Hey, I pinned this motherfucker. WrestleMania is coming up. I need to be in this triple threat match." But it seems like
now I would love for it to be a triple threat, but I don't think that's going to happen. And you have to have something huge to see. You have to have something huge for the tag titles.
Well, not only that, plus you got the Jey Uso thing, and Jay's technically not bloodline right now. So you got, and then he's a part. He's a tag team champion, but not in the bloodline. But Jimmy is, and there's a whole thing. There's a whole thing there. So, there's a storyline within a storyline.
I got one. Now I don't know where this leaves Kevin Owens, but after Raw, Kevin Owens made it seem like no matter what Sammy says, he doesn't give a shit. This is his problem, not his anymore. He's done.
Right.
So if that holds true, and it's not like they're going to finally reunite right before Mania.
I think that's where they're going, though.
Sami Zayn acknowledged Jey Uso. What about Sami Zayn and Jey Uso versus Jimmy and Solo?
I would be down for that.
I mean, if that's the way they're going to go.
You could put the tag titles on the line that way.
It reminds me of when they did that in WCW with like Sting and Big Giant were tag team champions and not on the same page.
Right. When they split up, either of them picked a partner, and then the winning team won the match.
Nash won the match and picked Sting as his partner or whatever.
Yeah, it all just seems like I don't know, and I understand. Listen, the reasoning behind picking Cody Rhodes as your new guy, I get it. There's all the reasons to do it. He probably had something written into his contract where he was guaranteed a Mania main event and/or a victory at Mania and/or a world title run. He's a businessman. He knows what to put in his contracts. I understand that he sells a lot of temporary shitty neck tattoos and T-shirts. I understand all the reasons for Cody, but when you look at it as a pure wrestling fan, Cody Rhodes has wrestled 4 matches in the last year. He took 8 months off. He came in at number 30 in the Royal Rumble. There's no way he should be a babyface walking into WrestleMania having the easiest fucking cakewalk of a life to get into the main event of WrestleMania this year. The easiest path to WrestleMania anybody's ever had, and he's going to walk in as a babyface, and then he's going to beat Roman Reigns and take both the titles, and then you're just going to move on from this Bloodline storyline after 2 years. It just, none of that jives when there's a guy who's been, first of all, it should have been Jey Uso in the main event. It should be main event Jey. But Sammy came out and got so hot and carried this story, was only supposed to be in it, like we said, for a few weeks, and they were supposed to move on. First of all, fuck Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens challenged for this world title 3 or 4 times during this 2-year run, and he couldn't get the job done. So as far as I'm concerned, he should be done with this story.
Well, but I'm just saying there has to be something for him. Kevin Owens has to have a part of WrestleMania. We just got to. I could still see him in Solo, but
him and Solo would be a good singles match if they could.
Right. But it just depends on how they're going to play it. The nice thing is there's quite a number of options. We don't know which way they're going to go. So we just kind of have to wait and see. It's nice to be able to say that we just don't know.
There's also the possibility of this kind of title split again, and where maybe Roman loses to Sammy one night and Cody the other.
Maybe. I just don't. It really, and again,
I got to tell you though, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying about Cody and how it's been a cakewalk. I get it. But I don't hate him versus Roman. I don't hate that idea. I wish it was Sammy, but I wish it was Sammy.
I read that,
but I'm not devastated by it. Like, it's not Baron Corbin or even Bray. I don't know.
It's just kind of it's just shitty. You see a guy that builds legitimate momentum, and not that Cody doesn't have the crowd behind him, but it's just like now they're mentioning his wife.
They're telling her.
So now Brandy's going to come. Like, this is the reason I'm already sour on Cody's potential world title run. Is we already saw the Codyverse in AEW, and it didn't work out. Main event Cody is kind of a D-bag. So and he stays in this quasi babyface, quasi heel. Am I going to turn? I'm never going to turn realm of weirdness. So unless they really rein that shit in, I'm just not excited to see it again. I've already seen this Cody. I've already seen the bleach blonde Homelander jacket. This whole presentation has already been done somewhere else. And he gets to take it to the big stage at WrestleMania. I'm very happy for him. It's just not as compelling as the other stories.
But I don't think,
right now.
And listen, I watched it on AEW also, but I don't think that it's going to go the same as it did. It's almost like a lot of times I feel like AEW fans and WWE fans, there's a difference.
And that's why I think the WWE fans are being receptive to this, because a lot of them probably haven't seen it before.
And here's another thing too I want to point out too. I can't remember the last time I watched a Dynamite and didn't see color. We had an entire Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, no color. It's almost overplayed in AEW, but it should be every once in a while in WWE, like a Chamber or Hell in the Cell. I'm sorry, there were people that were getting their face slammed into the chain. There should be that,
And again, the overuse, and again, that a lot of it probably is just John Moxley going out there and thinking that he needs to go up there and bleed every week. He doesn't need to, but he wants.
It takes away from the time that he does. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. This is. Do you remember watching Nitro at one point where Flair bled every week?
Yeah, but with Flair, it was different because it would always get into his hair, and then it would stand up with red blotches. It was great.
Yeah.
Or Flair would just start pounding his own face and open up a wound. You know?
Oh shit! I read something today that I guess one of Flair's ex-wives accused him of punching his own head and starting to bleed, so that he could call the cops and say that she was hitting him, but it was just reopening his old gig marks. If he did that, what a fucking a heel in real life.
That's fucking hilarious, and it wouldn't surprise me at all.
It wouldn't surprise. Listen, we got to throw this one out there. Allegedly, there we go.
Allegedly, always allegedly. Always allegedly.
But we got 6 weeks, man. We got
there's plenty of time.
We got 11, 12 shows between now and then,
And obviously, John Cena has been named for March 6th in Boston. So that'll set up him Austin Theory.
In his hometown. And that picture, they did John Cena so dirty in that new promo picture. He looks like 70 years old.
He's looking old. He's not aging well. It's the hair. He's got a huge bald spot in the back.
The bald,
and it's getting thinned out. Like he needs to shave it like he was, Thugonomics.
Yeah. Or you know what? I don't blame the guy for if he got hair plugs. You're a billionaire, bro. Go get hair plugs. Yeah, it's very okay.
Or keep the hat on. I mean, I know you can't do that while you're wrestling, but
the hat. I think the hat is what did it. He wore that hat and it rubbed against the back of his head all the time.
It's possible, but it's exciting. He's gonna get a hometown hero's welcome, so it'll be good to see Cena back, and I imagine Austin Theory will go over, so. John Cena's going to lose again at a WrestleMania.
I mean, or he wins the title from Austin at WrestleMania, comes back out on Monday, issues an open challenge, and somebody beats him, and then John Cena rides off in the sunset.
Yeah.
But it seems like it should be set up for Austin Theory to beat him. Like, right? I mean, you don't bring back Cena. And you have this new guy that you're like, oh, this is going to be the new Cena. See, he's like the young guy who won the U.S. title and isn't quite ready for the world title yet, and you're just going to have him be beaten. So I feel like he's got to win.
Yeah, he's got to win.
Some shit's going to happen, but he's got to win.
Yeah, well, we'll see. And then you had Monday Night Raw afterwards. Raw was decent. I don't think it was anything to write home about, but it was decent. We got the return of Lita. So that set up Becky and Lita versus Damage Control next week on Raw. So this is only going to set up, I think, a 6-man tag. And it'll be Lita. I think it's going to be Lita, Trish, and Becky versus all three of Damage Control at Mania.
Yeah, because initially, I guess on the call sheet for the show last night, Lita wasn't on it. It was Trish. It was Becky and Trish out there. So I feel like both of them must have been backstage.
Well, something happened with Trish. Apparently, she got injured. But apparently she's going to be okay or something. I heard something about that. I don't know. Allegedly, I can't. But
allegedly.
But I have a feeling that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a 6-man tag, which I'm okay with that. Give Lita and Trish some TV time.
Right.
But Raw was okay. I'm trying to think.
Oh well, so when we said I just want to show you the kind of difference in booking or perception backstage maybe of Sammy and Cody, because as I said earlier, Triple H said Sammy was very reminiscent of Mick Foley, which is great, but Mick Foley
eventually won.
Right. And Mick Foley only had the longest title reign he ever had was 26 days. So it's not like he ever kept it for very long. But the moment itself was always a big moment. They could have done the Kevin Owens running out like Stone Cold did to help Mick win his first world title and give everybody fucking stunners. And I know that's not the road they're going down, but that was an option if they wanted to put the title on Sammy for one day and have Roman take it back on Monday or something or Friday. But so a couple weeks ago, Cody got jumped by Corbin, and Cody was wearing a suit, and Cody whooped his ass and then beat him in a match while wearing his suit.
Yes.
And now this week, Corbin comes out and whoops Sammy's ass for like 10 minutes, and Sammy manages to get a win.
Well, that was actually a very funny moment because Pierce and security were holding Sammy back. And then after Corbin kept running his mouth, Pierce looked at Sammy and said, "You know what? Go for it. I'll send a ref." And it was just and then the match, and then Sammy handed him his ass.
But Cody looked, what I'm saying? Just, Cody has to look stronger than, in a similar situation, Cody's being booked stronger than Sammy.
Well, I think now in a way they have to, because now they're pushing towards WrestleMania. Right. So I don't really fault them for that.
No. Listen, I'm just pointing it out. Yeah.
Cody had another decent promo on Raw this week. As soon as he opened his mouth, Paul Heyman interrupted with a neck brace on, by the way, which was great.
Of course.
Well, yeah, because Kevin Owens stunned the shit out of him, and he took such a funny stunner. Oh my god, he reminds me of the Penguin.
I was just gonna say he fell over like the Penguin from
Right.
Batman. Yeah.
Oh, it was so funny, but I love Heyman.
Well, the other thing we didn't point out, because Paul Heyman has a big hand in this. I'll make this very quick. Paul Heyman has a big hand in writing the storyline. Paul Heyman said something a couple weeks ago when we had brought it up. You see things when you're at home watching that you don't see when you're in the ring.
Right.
Right before he caught a stunner, Paul Heyman said to Kevin Owens, "I never liked that guy. I always liked you. You and me, man.
I love you."
Right. Do you know who wasn't there? Solo. Who was watching on TV? Solo. Who might pull that clip? Ooh. And as part of the destruction of the bloodline, Solo's like, you see a lot more when you're at home watching TV than when you're in the ring, right, Paul?
Oh, interesting. So now, wait a minute. Heyman's now done with the bloodline. Where does Heyman go now?
Who's the next big thing? Literally, who's the next big thing? Put him with him. Fuck it. It's not Austin Theory, but you know what I mean?
You know what? That's how you bring up fucking Steiner.
There you go. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know? But let's call him a Steiner.
80s. Yeah. Paul has to come out with the old 80s cell phone.
The Zach Morris phone?
To fit in with the Steinerized gear. And you know what? Pay Jimmy Hart his money. I want Steiner line as this fucking kid's music.
No. He needs to come out with Scott Steiner's music now.
Oh, it's just the sirens and the drum
sirens.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Oh,
Steiner line would be so fun. Nobody else would like it. I would love it. Imagine Braun Breaker coming out to this.
Could you imagine? This is definitely 80s.
Where's the... Oh, man. The best part is they get into these goofy lyrics.
It's coming.
There's like a history of the Steiner brothers.
Here it comes.
Here we go.
There it is.
Yes, Jimmy Hart wrote a lot of the WCW.
Most of the stuff in the 80s he wrote.
Yeah, the WCW and the WWF stuff before Jim Johnson came in. And the Sting one, the he does this, he does that. It's the same girl singing that song. Oh my god.
Oh, that's
the
funny.
Sting song is something else. But
he did a lot of good ones.
Yeah, if Paul Heyman is actually done with the bloodline, I think that's not a bad.
It's not a bad move.
Way to go.
It's not, because Braun's a beast breaker, whatever the fuck is.
Right, and that then you can. Yeah,
you can't just put him back with Brock. So
no, there. You think Brock? I mean, at this point, you think Brock would take him? It's storyline wise, it would have to take a lot for both.
I was gonna say in real life, yes, but
yeah, right.
In story, no, you can't do that right now. No, he wrote the songs. He sang some of them though. He did sing some of them, but
he did sing
most of them. He wrote.
He wrote and was the lead singer of the 1950s hit "Keep on Dancing" by the Gentrys, and you can actually tell if you go back and listen to the song
hear the
"Keep
voice.
on Dancing" by the Gentrys. You can pick out of the 4 or 5 guys which one is Jimmy Hart. You're like, that's Jimmy Hart's voice 100%.
He's amazing.
There's a great video. I think it was by Kayfabe Commentaries. It was a shoot video with Jimmy Hart, and he had a guy they were just in like on a stage, and there was a piano, and Jimmy Hart had a microphone, and he'd play a little bit of a song, like they'd play and sing one of the entrance themes, and then he'd talk about how he wrote it and why he wrote it, or stories about the wrestler it reminded. So it was like a very cool little video if anybody's looking for more Jimmy Hart music.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have hit the top of the hour.
Yes,
That
we
went
have.
quick.
Wow. Well, this always happens around WrestleMania season. These shows go by super fast.
That's for sure.
We had a lot, we had a lot to talk about. We still have a lot to talk about as we make our way to WrestleMania. As I said, AEW Revolution, I think, is March 4th, because if Monday is March 6th, I believe they have a Saturday pay-per-view, which is March 4th. Of course, we got Raw and SmackDown 10, 11, 12 more times until 10, 12, 11 more episodes until we actually get to the big one. So we got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, and a lot to digest in the world of wrestling. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in with us. Just remember to follow us at TagMeADate. That's at TagMeADate, no spaces. We're all over social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter and Periscope. We're on, if you're connected with Steve, on LinkedIn. We're on Twitch. That's the only different one. It's twitch.tv/War Report. That's WARREPORT, all one word. We live stream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Periscope, and Twitch, and again on Steve's LinkedIn. Most of them are at TagMeADate. YouTube is at TagMeADate. Twitch, as I said, is twitch.tv/War Report. If you're going to the YouTube, you can look up our archives there of previous streamed shows. Just type in TagMeADate in your search bar. You'll come to our channel, hit subscribe, and then hit the bell to get notified when we upload a new video or when we go live. When we go live 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday evenings. If you prefer audio versions instead of the video version of the podcast, we are on most major podcast apps such as Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Play Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. So all you got to do is type in TagMeADate or the War Report when you're searching for your podcasts, and we will pop up. Just so you know, there are two podcasts called the War Report that discuss professional wrestling. But when you look at the icon or the description of the podcast, you will see in the description that it's us. If you've heard us before, you'll see my name, Vince or Steve or whatever. You'll know by the description that it's our podcast as opposed to theirs. The other War Report's hasn't been doing it as long as us either, but that's a whole other story. So if you want the audio versions, just subscribe on the podcast app of your choice. It'll go right to your mobile device within about an hour of our show going off the air between 7 and 8 p.m. Ryan pulls the audio and throws it up on the podcast apps. And then otherwise, you can just go back on our Facebook or our YouTube or our Twitch to see some of the archives. Until then, I just want to ask you guys to, continue following us along the road to WrestleMania. And if you've got friends, spread the love, spread the word of TagMeADate. We're just some friends who love discussing pro wrestling, and we love having more people listen to our podcast. So share the podcast link if you listen to the podcast. Share the video link if you're watching the videos. We love having people in the live stream. We've got Tara who comes in just about every week asking us questions and throwing us comments to keep the discussion rolling. We've got other people that hop in the chat as well, but the more the merrier. The more comments you put in, the more questions we can take and the more discussion we have during the podcast. So just spread the word, man. Tell your friends. We'd love to get more and more listeners and more people in the comments during the live streams as we progress along the road to WrestleMania. And with that, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week, Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, for another edition of the War Report. Thank you so much. Have a good week, everybody.